Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you are doing well today. We apologize for the delay and a little bit of sweating that I'm sure you all are doing, but what's a little sweat in politics, right? Thank you all for coming out to our canvassing forum, hosted by the Mississippi JCs. We are a nonpartisan organization that supports informed elections. On behalf of the JCs, we'd like to thank you for attending and taking the time out of your days to join us. Our moderator has traveled from Picayune. He is a member of the Picayune JCs and a realtor at Formby Realty. Please help me give him a warm welcome, Jonathan Bell.
Welcome. Let me pull this up real quick. Just a moment. Okay, we've got questions, and we've got our two candidates here today. And as call them, give me just a moment. All right, so first we will have Mr. Sims come up. He will have 5 minutes, introduce himself, and then Mr. Calico will come right behind him as well. You can come on up if you want, yeah, that way.
Go ahead again.
Yes.
All right. Well, good morning. I would like to thank the JCs for hosting this forum. I think it's great that organizations will put these events on, allow the public to come out and hear directly from the candidates. I appreciate everybody who showed up this morning. It's very important. As far as Charlie Sims goes, I am a career law enforcement officer. I'm a Christian, I'm a family man, a longtime resident of Forest County. I have my family here, or most of them here. My lovely wife Elizabeth, we've been married 35 years. She is my anchor foundation. She has been supportive of me for, well, ever since we were married. Anything that I strove to do in my career, she was right there behind me. My son Charlie, who is a police officer over in Petal, and my daughter Kay, who is a elementary school teacher in Oak Grove. My oldest daughter Jenny is not here. She has a lot of responsibility. She's executive director of Southern Pines and does a great job at that. My other daughter Erica is up in Grenada with her family. So I have 4 grown children. All of them were raised here in Forest County. Attended schools here, Dixie Elementary, and then Forest County Agricultural High School, and I've got 4 grandchildren. I'm a member of Parkway Heights United Methodist Church. I've been a member there since 1986. I've been very active in the community over the years, not only here on the local level, but participating on the state boards. I have been on the executive board of DREAM, a domestic abuse family shelter, Sexual Assault Crisis Center. I've been on served on the executive board of Law Enforcement Officer Standards and Training, Mississippi, Association of Chiefs of Police, the Forest County Agricultural High School School Board, FBI National Academy Associates groups, and I'm still active. I'm Executive Secretary Treasurer for Mississippi Law Enforcement Officers Association, a statewide organization. that promotes law enforcement and tries to enhance professionalism. I am on the CIT, diversion committee. That's where we're trying to bring training to officers to deal with individuals who are suffering from mental illness or substance abuse issues, and trying to get them, the officers trained to handle that, and then also a diversion center where the individuals can be taken and receive proper help. Also serve on the juvenile recidivism committee here in Forrest County, and active, like I said, in my church on the security team. So this community is very important to me. I have been here since I attended the University of Southern Mississippi, originally from Jackson, Mississippi. Came down here to get my degree in criminal justice, attended the University of Southern Mississippi, graduated from there, and began my career at the Hattiesburg Police Department. Hattiesburg Police Department was the beginning point of my law enforcement career. And I worked my way through various divisions, areas of responsibility, supervisory positions, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to become the chief of police for Hattiesburg Police Department. And served in that capacity, had a great team of individuals that served with me on Hattiesburg Police Department. We did a lot of great things with that department. We received national accreditation, we received awards in community policing. I can't say enough about the men and women that served with me and made that department one of the best in the state. After I retired from the Hattiesburg Police Department, I went on to become a member of the Mississippi Police Corps, which was a training program for college graduates, getting them introduced into law enforcement, and I became a national director of staff development and coordinated efforts in 27 states. After that, I left there and went to work with Forrest General. So this community is important. My career, I have had a bunch of mentors and role models who gave me a good foundation. They instilled core values in me, a work ethic. They told me never to be satisfied or content, but constantly strive to improve. Don't be reactive, always look forward, be proactive in everything you did. They helped me become the professional law enforcement officer I am today. So again, I appreciate being here and look forward to the question.
Thank you. And Mr. Calico, 5 minutes to introduce yourself as well.
Well, good morning, and I want to thank the JCs for having us here today. I want to start by telling you just a little bit about me and what my experience and what my qualifications are to be the next sheriff of Forrest County. I'm 47 years old, and I'm married to my beautiful wife, Megan, and I have 3 wonderful stepchildren. I began my law enforcement career in 1996, working for the Forrest County Sheriff's Department in the jail. I have also worked as a dispatcher, a patrolman, a motorcycle officer, an accident reconstructionist, a narcotics investigator, a criminal investigator. I was the assistant commander of the Metro Narcotics Task Force, chief criminal investigator, and public information officer. I currently work for the Forrest County Circuit Court as a pretrial release officer. So as you can see, I have worked in several different divisions throughout my career, and most of them were within the Forrest County Sheriff's Department. So it's with the knowledge and experience that I have from working within the Forrest County Sheriff's Department that I know the changes that need to be made. And I've got a plan to make those changes starting on day 1. And the basis to my plan is accountability, communication, manpower, and training. Accountability starts with every employee having a clear understanding of what is expected of them. And on day 1, every employee will be issued a policy and procedures handbook. It will be gone over, they will sign it, and they will have it with them at all times. A way that I am going to continue to hold the officers accountable is I'm going to implement a yearly job performance review. That way I can let the officers know what they're doing right and what they need to improve on. And if any employee violates any of the policies and procedures, they will be disciplined, and if it violates any laws, they will be charged accordingly. The next thing in my, the basis of my plan is communication. I want to have an open communication with the public. Just as I am going to hold the officers accountable, I have to be held accountable too. I've got to be held accountable to the citizens of Forrest County. And one way that I'm going to be held accountable is I'm going to periodically send out community reviews to randomly selected registered voters of Forrest County. That will give you an opportunity to evaluate me, to let me know what I'm doing right and what I need to improve on. And not just me, but the department as a whole. I also want to initiate a Forrest County app. Nowadays, almost everyone has a smartphone and they usually always have it with them. So if there is a public safety event that takes place, I want to be able to get that information out to them as soon as possible. And I'm going to have a person that is going to be designated to get that information out and to keep them updated until the event is over with. I also want to partner with the schools, not just during Red Ribbon Week, but throughout the school year. I want to set up canine demonstrations with the elementary schools. I want to build a trust between the children and the officers. If we can build this trust at an early age, then it's going to benefit the children throughout their lives. Excuse me. The next thing that I want to touch on is the manpower. I want to cut the fat from the top and restructure the administration. As I told you earlier, I've worked in several different divisions throughout the Sheriff's Department. So I know from the inside what things need to be changed. And I'm going to restructure that administration, and I'm going to reallocate the funds that I saved from restructuring the administration and put that money into narcotics. I'm going to add 3 additional members to the narcotics team. I want them concentrating on the drug dealers and the drug sellers right here in Forrest County. I'm also going to add a public information officer. As I told you earlier, I want to get that information out. It's going to be someone that is trained to be able to get the information out to the media as soon as possible and keep them updated. I know I'm running out of time and I want to touch on training real quick. I want to have the patrol officers, all of them, cross-trained. I want them trained in narcotics. I want them trained in basic criminal investigation and also evidence collection and preservation. And I want to do information sharing. Work with the surrounding counties to get information that are not only going to help solve crimes, but to prevent them.
We are plenty more to go. So I've got both of your names in a jar up here. That way we can have random selection of who goes first. So, let's see here. All right, Mr. Sims, we'll begin with you. So you'll have 2 minutes to answer the first question. Mr. Calico, you'll follow right behind. And then for the second question, Mr. Calico, you'll get that one. So let's see what we have here. So the question is, do you agree with the community-oriented policing philosophy? And if so, how do you see the Sheriff's Office adapting the philosophy of community policing to a rural county setting?
Community policing is community policing. It is nothing more than a partnership between the agency and the community as a whole. Community policing starts with communication, making sure that you're not dictating what the community wants, but you're listening to the community and you're giving them what they need. So community policing means you are interacting with them. One of the things I'm kind of opposed to are the dark tinted windows in patrol cars where you can't see who's in there. The justification for that is we don't want to make them a target. Bottom line is it's a confined space, and if somebody's using that vehicle, they're going to do it. It doesn't matter about the tinted windows. The tinted windows kind of shut us off from the community. So making sure that they can see the public can see them. If they see someone out in their yard, stopping and talking to them, communicating with them, asking them what's going on in their community, what they feel is important, and us addressing those needs, no matter what they are. And there may be things that the public brings up that aren't law enforcement specific. It doesn't matter. If we know that they have a problem with a drainage ditch, we need to get with the individuals who are responsible for the drainage ditch and help the community out with that. So communication, not only with the internet and Facebook and all that, but there are other forms. Personal contact is key. Talking to the news media, making them your friend and not your enemy. Bringing them in, giving them updates. And you take the good with the bad. If there's something that we're doing wrong, we need to address that as well. That comes with transparency and communication, which are the cornerstones of community policing.
So, Mr. Calico, same question to you. Do you agree with the community-oriented policing philosophy? And if so, how do you see the Sheriff's Office adapting the philosophy of community policing to a rural county setting?
I do agree with community-oriented policing, and that's something that I wouldn't even classify as community-oriented policing that I've done throughout my career. That it's something that when you see somebody out, if you're not going to a call or working on a call, you stop and talk to them, see what's going on with them. And being proactive is one of the biggest things to help with the community-oriented policing. That, just like I said earlier with the information sharing, when you get that information that a trend or crimes are taking place in other jurisdictions and they're moving closer to the areas of Forest County or inside the city of Hattiesburg or inside the city of Pebble, then you make your officers aware of these issues that are moving that way, and they are looking out for things like that. They are talking to the public, letting them know, okay, we've got auto burglaries taking place in a jurisdiction just outside of Forest County, but they're moving in that direction. And that's what I want to make sure, that these officers are talking with the people and listening to the people. And just like I said earlier, the community reviews. Let the public know that they can tell us what we need to improve on. And that's what the community-oriented policing is. It's just being out, being vigilant, and talking to the citizens of Forest County.
Thank you. And go on to our next question here. So, Mr. Calico, what can the sheriff do to address concerns and actions on school safety in local schools?
Well, the first thing is partner with the schools. There are school resource officers that are assigned to most schools. And I believe that training with these school resource officers, if there is an event that takes place, that they have worked together before, so they know how each other are going to work. And I want to partner, like I said, with the schools to get the trust of the children, so they're going to run to the officers and not away from the officers. And the school safety is educating during Red Ribbon Week, making a commitment to being in the schools when you're on patrol, you go visit and have a presence in that school.
And Mr. Sims, same question. What can the sheriff do to address concerns and actions on school safety in local schools?
It begins with meeting with the school administrator, talking to them, seeing what programs are currently in place. The school resource officers are going to have some programs. So how can we complement that? I agree that we need to develop trust with the children, but we not only need to develop trust with the children, we need to develop the trust and communication with the teachers and the administrators, so that we're all working on the same page. We need to make sure that active shooter training is being taught, and not just one time in the academy, but you continue to train with your officers, you train with the school resource officers, you train with the schools so that everyone knows what's going to happen in the event, a tragic event takes place on that school campus. So making sure that you communicate with the administrators and get that working. In addition to that, you know, we need to, again, have the officers or the deputies visit the schools periodically, not just doing, you know, school traffic in the mornings and the afternoons, but actively going through, developing programs that will help the children not only make good, positive choices in the school, but at home as well. They are actually our future, and we should be concerned about that. That's why I'm on the Juvenile Recidivism Committee, making sure that we have programs that are going to address bullying and other things that are causing them pressure, making them make some decisions that probably aren't the best in the world. So if we can give them positive reinforcement at home, in the schools, and help them to make better choices, then our community is going to be a better place.
So, Mr. Sims, what do you think about the idea of consolidation of services with other counties or other jurisdictions?
I'm not sure I understand that, but I do believe very strongly in cooperation. I have said many times that crime and drugs do not have any kind of jurisdictional boundaries, that they cross from the city to the county, from one county to the next. That's a fact. So making sure that we cooperate with Hattiesburg, with Petal, with adjoining counties, with state and federal agencies to share information, to coordinate efforts, to really try and aggressively pursue those that are committing crimes and selling and distributing drugs in this county. That's a given. And you get superior results when you cooperate and you share information. So coordinated efforts are absolute. Consolidation, you know, I believe the Metro or the 12th Judicial District Task Force is important. It brings together, well, right now, unfortunately, there's only Hattiesburg and Forest County that are participating. We need to get Perry County back in there. We need to get Petal back in there so that we're all working together to try and attack the crime and the drugs that are being committed. That's very important. There are meetings that take place that involve other counties, other cities, and they share information about crimes that are going on and help each other work on those cases. And it's very important that we participate in that and make sure that we're, like I said, we're all working together toward the same goal of getting rid of the crime and drugs in our county.
Mr. Calico, what do you think about the idea of consolidation of services with other counties or other jurisdictions?
Well, you can have information that's shared, but as far as consolidating, the issue you come into is on prosecuting. You have different district attorneys in different jurisdictions that have the guidelines to be able to prosecute the cases. So we're fortunate enough here in Forest County to also have the same jurisdictional district attorney in Perry County. And that is why when I was working in the Metro Narcotics Task Force, that Perry County was a part of the task force because we were working together. And just as I said earlier, since I worked in narcotics for as long as I did, I know the need for the manpower. And that's why I want to restructure the administration to take the money that I can save and reallocate it to put 3 additional members onto the narcotics task force. And I believe getting the task force back to Perry County, Petal, Hattiesburg, where they have more officers in there also, the more manpower, the more you will be able to solve these or deal with the drug dealers and the drug sellers. and the information sharing, and just like I said in my plan, I want them to work with the surrounding agencies to get this information. Because the more information that is shared from surrounding agencies and state agencies, it helps you combat more crimes, and you can solve more crimes, and you can even prevent the crimes if you get that information out in a timely fashion.
All right, Mr. Calico, do you have a specific goal you would like to reach or accomplish during your first year in office?
Well, I've got a plan, as I explained from the beginning, that what I'm going to do, and it's going to start on day one. Now, how long it's going to take, that's going to depend on a lot of variables. There are several things that I want to do, not just in my first year, but within my first 4 years. I want to have a K-9 on every patrol unit. I want to be able to use that K-9 to do sweeps in the jail to alleviate the contraband. I want them to partner with the schools to do walkthroughs with the administration when they request us to. I want them to be able to work with patrol, to work with missing persons, work with the narcotics units on the drug issues. So there are several things that I'm going to do within my first year. And as I explained in my plan, that is what I'm going to do in my first year. I'm going to restructure that administration. I'm going to add the people to narcotics. I'm going to add the information officer. I'm going to add a Forest County Sheriff's Department app to be able to get the communication out to the public. And that's the biggest thing. When we gain the public's trust back, we will work so much better together.
Mr. Sims, do you have a specific goal you would like to reach or accomplish during your first year in office?
Probably the biggest thing will be to change the culture of the department. A sheriff is responsible for setting the tone. A culture is the sum of the values, the traditions, the beliefs, the interactions, behaviors, attitudes. All those things make up a culture, and it's important to have a positive culture. Positive culture will attract talent. It'll impact satisfaction of your workers, and it'll have an effect on performance. And policies and procedures are great. That tells our officers how to do things, but they need to know what the vision is, what the mission of the department is, and it's up to the sheriff to dictate what that is. I want a culture of courtesy, respect, and service. That's what's important to me. And it's my job to make sure I instill that in all the employees, to make sure that they believe in it. I'll hold them accountable to it. But most importantly, I'll expect them to go out and try and accomplish that each and every day. So setting the tone of the department is very important. Now, beyond that, all the little programs and everything else, that's going to come along. Those are things that are going to happen. But there's a process you go through. You've got to evaluate the operations to see where you are, what's working, what's not, what needs to change. You have to determine what's effective and what's efficient. It's easy to say that you're going to take money and move it here, or you're going to add personnel here and there, but you have to get approval through the Board of Supervisors. You've got to look at whether or not what you're doing is going to affect other areas of the department and make those decisions. So I'm going to have that outside perspective that will make the changes and not be influenced by friendships, favors, or people who want to hold on to power.
Mr. Sims, please describe your working relationship with department personnel and with local police departments.
Local personnel, well, I have a good relationship with the Hattiesburg Police Department, Chief Parker. I cannot say the same thing for Forest County. Of course, that's because I ran against the current sheriff 4 years ago, so it's been a little tense to say the least. I don't have a problem working with any agency. I'm a professional law enforcement officer. I do my job. I do what is best for the citizens of Forrest County, and will work within my power to get those things done. I have a good working relationship with the city of Pella. I have a good working relationship with the sheriff's departments in Lamar, Perry, Jones, Stone County, Covington County. I don't have a problem working with any of those agencies. You know, it's a matter of sitting down, discussing what the issues are, making sure that we're all working toward the same goal of eliminating crime, preventing crime, and how we can share those resources and you know, work on that goal together, plain and simple.
Mr. Calico, please describe your working relationship with department personnel and with local police departments.
Well, the current position that I'm in with Forrest County Circuit Court, that is what I do. I have a working relationship with the officers, the investigators of the Sheriff's Department, of the Hattiesburg Police Department, of the Petal Police Department, of USM, Forrest General. I have always had a good working relationship with all of the agencies around throughout my career. I work with several of the administrators that are now at the Hattiesburg Police Department, that are at the Petal Police Department, that are at the Lamar County Sheriff's Department, Perry County. I've worked with all of these people before, and we've always had a good rapport. And that's one thing that I can say is, even when I went to the circuit court, I still had the administrators of these other counties and these other agencies calling me, asking me for my opinion and guidance as to how I could help them. And that's something that I've always strived to do, is to try to help everybody. And I don't think that that's going to change. I'll continue to work with all of the departments, the surrounding agencies, and just like the information sharing, as I've said before, I've talked with the sheriffs in Stone County. I've talked with the sheriff in Jones County. I've worked with them. I've worked with Lamar County. I've worked with Perry County. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue at all for me to continue to work with all of these agencies.
Mr. Calico, how would you address jail overcrowding?
Well, we were fortunate enough while I was working at the Sheriff's Department that the Board of Supervisors, they approved building a larger facility. And at this time, the jail is not overcrowded. I worked in the jail at 316 Forest Street back in 1996. And yes, there was an overcrowdedness of inmates at the time. I believe that they have adequate space, and that working with the courts, between the justice courts and the circuit court, that the inmates the cases are being processed a lot faster, and that there's not an overcrowdedness in the jail at the current time.
Mr. Sims, same question. How would you address jail overcrowding?
Well, Nick's absolutely right. There's not a problem with overcrowding. We have a 640-bed facility that, on average, has 300 inmates in it. The problem is we're not fully utilizing the jail through federal prisoners, where we could actually help offset costs with jail operations, because you get paid more for housing federal prisoners. You have to comply with certain standards, but I don't think that those standards are outrageous. Otherwise, no county facility in the state would do it. You know, we have a federal courthouse, and generally we send the federal prisoners down to Stone or Harrison County. There's no reason for that. You have Lamar County screaming that they're out of space. So, you know, mutual aid agreement where we house some of their overcrowding problems would help offset some issues with Forest County. So I just, again, you know, that's why I think it's important for us to come in and evaluate the department, every aspect of it, because there are some efficiency issues that need to be addressed. And so, again, no jail overcrowding. We're not fully utilizing the space we have.
Mr. Sims, what experience do you have in supervising a large number of personnel? And similar question tied in with it, what experience do you have in preparing and implementing a large budget?
Well, I've been there and I've done that. I'm the only candidate who has successfully run a large law enforcement agency. I've handled a multi-million-dollar budget. I have been responsible for the operations of that department. Currently, I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations at the Forest General Police Department, and you know, handle the officers there. So nothing new to me. It's something that I've done, something I feel that I did well. I had a 80% approval rating from the community when I was chief of police. We had several successful programs. We had the personnel who were committed to going out and serving the public. Again, running the operation. I've done it, and I'm ready to go to work day one for Forest County.
Yeah, Mr. Calico, what experience do you have in supervising a large number of personnel and at the same time experience in preparing and implementing a large budget?
Well, when I first came to college at USM, I was working at Pepsi-Cola, and while I was working there, I was assigned to as a bulk account manager where I had 20 employees that worked for me. So I do have experience of supervising several people. In my opinion, whether you're supervising 5 people, 20 people, or 100 people, you still have to supervise the same way. You get the quality people around you that have the training and the mindset that you want to instill in every employee. And as long as you continue to hold them accountable, then the number of employees, that doesn't matter. That you've got to have the same leadership skills, that you want to empower your employers, that they want to grow, and that they want to enjoy coming to work every day, and they're doing it for the right reasons. That it's not just for a paycheck, but that they are public servants and they are there for the community. And I believe that I have done that since I started my law enforcement career, and I will continue to lead that way. As far as the budget goes, yes, I've seen the budget. I've worked with the budget on a smaller level of the forfeitures from the narcotics. So I've been able to prepare that budget and utilize it to the best of its abilities.
And Mr. Calico, again, law enforcement effectiveness depends upon community respect and confidence. Conduct which detracts from this respect and confidence is detrimental to the public interest. How will you work to rebuild that trust from the citizens of Forest County and ensure that this is not broken?
Well, that's
the first thing that I said about communication. I want to have an open communication with the public and get their input by doing the community reviews. I want to gain their trust. I can sit here and tell you all day long what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to gain the public's trust because I wouldn't have been able to remain as an investigator, whether it be narcotics and criminal investigations, for as long as I did, if I didn't have the trust of the department and the working ability to communicate with the public. And that's something that, like I said, the community having the opportunity to voice their opinion and also being accessible. If somebody calls for me or comes to see me, I'm going to take the time to meet with them. And they can call me at any time. My cell phone number is going to be available to everybody in the community. Now, I would rather them not call me at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, but, you know, everybody's emergencies are different. Somebody that may have an emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning, it may not be an emergency to somebody else. But I won't know that unless I answer that call. And that's one thing that I will tell you, I'm going to answer that call. I've been called out all hours of the day and night, whether it be for accident reconstruction, whether it be for criminal investigations, or whether it be for narcotics. So I'm used to it. And I am going to continue to do that.
Yeah, Mr. Sims, law enforcement effectiveness depends upon community respect and confidence. Conduct which detracts from this respect and confidence is detrimental to the public interest. How will you work to rebuild that trust from the citizens of Forrest County and ensure that it's not broken?
Again, it begins with the culture. You have to make sure that the people that are working for you are all on the same mission. They're there to, one, meet the needs of the public and be committed to serving them. So that has to be instilled in them. They have to want to do that and go out every day and do that. Now, for the public and the community itself, we've got to establish the communication and the trust through transparency. We've got to be able to respond to any issues that may come up. Any significant issue that happens in Forrest County, we should, in a very timely manner, get in front of them and say, here's what happened. Here are the facts of the case. We take it seriously. We're going to look into it, and we're going to keep you updated as we go along. So making sure that transparency is there. The trust comes from getting that information to the public. They should know who's been arrested, for what crimes are being committed, where. They should know how we're doing, how we're processing or proceeding through investigating their case. They need reassurance to know that we don't just take a report and set it on a desk somewhere to collect dust, but we're actively working on it. And then we should be doing crime prevention seminars. We should be informing the public about those things that they can do to prevent them from becoming the victim of a crime. So making sure that we communicate all that information is going to build that trust, it's going to establish that trust, and they're going to know that they can depend on the Sheriff's Department and contact us for anything that may come up.
Mr. Sims, as sheriff, would you require continued education training, for example, a physical fitness test, such as that?
All right. Well, let's tackle this one thing at a time. Training, very important to me. I was the director of training for Hattiesburg Police Department. Making sure that our officers are competent in all of their police skills is very important. Not only to keep them safe, but also for liability reasons. Making sure that they know how to handle a suspect, when to use force, what amount of force, giving them the tools that they need to do their job. As far as continuous training, municipal agencies are required to do 24 hours of in-service training. Counties aren't. But an administrator that ignores that is just waiting to write a check somewhere. So training is very important, making sure that they get what they need to do their job safely and professionally. As far as, what was the other part of that? Physical fitness. You know, at Hattiesburg, yeah, we had mandatory physical fitness, but it was not that they kept their job, it made them available for pay raises and promotions. And what it does is it makes sure that an officer is physically fit to do their job and serve the public. Now, I'm not going to do that with Forrest County. Am I going to encourage officers to remain fit for their own good and for the safety of the public? Absolutely. And I'll be an example for them. I maintain my fitness because that's my job as a law enforcement officer. I have to be ready at any moment to respond and help one of my fellow officers or one of the citizens out there. And if I'm not physically fit to handle that, then shame on me. And that's just not something that I agree with.
Mr. Calico, as sheriff, would you require a continued education training in physical fitness?
Yes, I believe that, especially in law enforcement nowadays, it's an ever-changing profession. So as the profession changes, we have to change with it and actually try to change before it. And so you'll see trends from different areas starting to take place on a national level, and it'll trickle down to the state and into the local municipalities and local counties. So I am going to work with the state and the federal government to try to get grants to have this additional training. Now, will every officer be available to go to this training? No, but what I am going to instill in the ones that do go to the training is to take the notes, take good notes, and be able to bring it back to make sure that all of the rest of the officers that weren't able to attend this training is trained, so they know what changes are being made. Technology is one of the biggest things. I believe that we need to work with getting a new report system to be able to share more information throughout the state. I worked with the Sheriff's Department, and that was one of the things that we were doing, was getting this report system that is connected to other agencies throughout the state. Well, the company that sold it didn't have it prepared at the time, so now they've come and have that available. But I was working on it, and they had a lot more, or they wanted a lot more money to convert everything back over. That wasn't feasible at the time for it. Now, as far as the physical fitness, no, I don't believe that. I believe that's an individual's opinion.
Question, what supervising or leadership experiences qualifies you for the position of sheriff?
As I told you before, with all of my experience and where I've worked at, I was the assistant commander of the Metro Narcotics Task Force. I was in charge of all of the money that was being used to acquire drugs from the drug dealer on sale cases. I was required to take all of the money that was forfeiture, that was taken as a forfeiture, and kept that budget. I supervised the officers in narcotics. I was the chief investigator for the Sheriff's Department. I've had at the time there were 4 investigators that were working under me. So I've had the leadership to continue to move Forrest County forward. With that being said, prior to me leaving the Sheriff's Department, if the current sheriff was unavailable to go to meetings or board meetings, I was the one that was filling in and going to these meetings. I've been to the board meetings. I've been to the emergency management meetings for disasters or catastrophes that were going to happen. I prepared. I found out, all right, this is how many people we need, this is where they need to be, and I kept them updated throughout the entire event. I worked on the crisis intervention team while I was with the Sheriff's Department. I was the president of the Mississippi Law Enforcement Officers Association for 2 years. So I've got the leadership skills, and I know that I can lead the Sheriff's Department because I have filled in those positions in the past, and I know what is needed.
Mr. Sims, what supervisor or leadership experiences qualifies you for the position of sheriff?
I have 38 years of law enforcement experience. I've been a shift commander, I've been a division commander, I've been an assistant chief, I've been a chief of police. I'm assistant director of public safety for Force General. I was national director of staff development for Police Corps, where I coordinated training efforts for 27 states. I have attended numerous trainings. I hold numerous instructor certifications. I attended the FBI National Academy. That's not a 5-day leadership course. That's an 11-week executive development course. So I've been prepared my whole career. Of those 38 years, 20 of those years have been in some type of supervisory or leadership position. So I am uniquely qualified. I'm the only one, like I said, that has successfully run a large department. I'm the only one that has seen not one but 2 departments nationally and state accredited. So I've been in the leadership role. I'm ready to step into the leadership role for Force County Sheriff's Department and take it to the next level.
Mr. Sims, how would you handle staffing shortages, overtime costs, and budget restraints?
Well, as far as the staffing goes, again, that comes with the evaluating every aspect of the department. See what's currently in place, what each unit or division within the Sheriff's Department is currently doing. Are they handling resources properly? Do we have too many personnel assigned to it? Not enough personnel assigned to it. So, what shifts can we make in those personnel areas? That's going to address a lot of the staffing. But it's not just that you throw 5 or 6 deputies into this division or that division. You have to look at the overall operations and determine where the resources need to go, where they're best utilized. If drugs are a problem, then how do you shift resources to address that problem? As far as the budgeting goes, you've got to be responsible for not only making sure you're spending money effectively, but that you're saving money through waste or anything like that. Again, it comes back to the efficiency of the department and how it's being run. State and federal grants are a big issue. And, there are certain grants that you're not eligible for if you don't do certain things. For example, UCR reporting, which is going to be changing, and it'll go to NIVERS, but, reporting that information makes you eligible for more grants. Force County is missing out on some grant opportunities that are expiring expiring at the end of this month. We should be aggressively pursuing those because that saves the county money and brings equipment, training, and personnel to Force County.
Mr. Calico, how would you handle staffing shortages, overtime costs, and budget restraints?
Well, first of all, I want to say that the Forest County Board of Supervisors have always been very good to law enforcement. They have expanded from the time that I started from 3 patrol deputies per shift. It went to 4 patrol deputies per shift, and then they upped it to 5 patrol deputies per shift. So I would continue to work with the Board of Supervisors to continue to utilize the best avenues that we can to grow the sheriff's department. With that being said, if you don't use all of the money that is budgeted for your department, then the supervisors will cut the budget and they'll reallocate it to other areas. As far as the staffing goes, I work within the Forrest County Sheriff's Department, so I know where these people need to be. I know where I can put them there, and a lot of people don't realize that the sheriff is responsible for a lot more than just the patrol and the jail. They're responsible for the juvenile detention center, responsible for youth court, responsible for the chancery court, the circuit court, the justice court, to making sure that these are all secure, along with civil process. I've worked with all of these areas, so I know where to put people at.
A judge in federal court referred to the FCSO, Forrest County Sheriff's Office, as having a culture of corruption. How will you as sheriff change this culture and perception? Yes.
All right. Well, like I said earlier, that it goes to accountability, accessibility, and gaining the trust of the public. And I've always been a leader. I'll try to lead by example. I'm not a big talker. I'd rather show you what I'm going to do than tell you what I'm going to do. And it goes to the accountability that every employee knows exactly what is expected of them, and that you hold them accountable, that they continue to do what they're supposed to do. And if they don't, then they'll be disciplined, or, if need be, they'll be terminated. And that's the way that we're going to gain the public's trust back, by holding the officers accountable, doing the right thing, whether you're being watched or not. And that's the type of employees that I want to have, that are open to the public, to listening to what the public has to say, and to gain that trust back. And as I told you earlier, if you've got a problem or a concern or a question, I will be accessible. If you come by, I'm going to meet with you. Or you call me, I'm going to talk with you. Everyone will have my cell number. They can call me at any time. So that's how we're going to change the, per se, culture, is leading by example and holding everyone accountable, not just the officers, but me too, to the community.
Mr. Sims, a judge in federal court referred to the Forrest County Sheriff's Office as having a culture of corruption. How will you as sheriff change this culture and perception?
Over 4 years ago, 2 employees were indicted and pled guilty to stealing food from the jail. They implicated other people at the sheriff's department. The chief deputy was indicted for stealing food. Well, it was for tax evasion, but the judge that referred to it as a culture of corruption mentioned the jail food thefts in relation to the chief deputy. There have been other issues that came up. That's why I ran 4 years ago, because I saw that there was a need for change. I did not sit back and just hope it went away. I made a move to do something. That's why I'm sitting in this chair and I'm running for this office again, is because changes still need to be made. The same changes that are here are problems that are here now were there 4 years ago. And you shouldn't have supported the status quo. If change was needed, then you need to do something about it. So that's why I'm here. I've already mentioned establishing a new culture. one that's geared toward serving the community. That's what has to happen. And the sheriff is the one that's responsible for that, making sure it's instilled in the people, they're held accountable to it, they practice it every day. So that's how you handle a culture of corruption. You say that it's not going to happen, that you're going to make sure people do their job, they do it right, and they do it for the right reasons. And that's the sheriff's responsibility, and that's what I'll do when I get into that office.
Perfect follow-up to that question, Mr. Sims. Why are you the right person to change the culture at the sheriff's office?
Because I'm the only one with the outside perspective. I can go in and objectively evaluate the current operations. I can look at the problems and the issues that have caused the negative perceptions, and I can make the needed changes without being influenced by friendships or favors or anything else. I'm not bound by any of that. I'm going to do what's best for the public, the citizens of Forest County. I'm going to do what's best for them. I'm going to be committed to that. So, you know, I feel like I am the only one that brings that unique perspective from the outside, who can look at everything and make the decisions that are best for the public.
And Mr. Calico, why are you the right person to change the culture at Forest County Sheriff's Office?
Because I've worked inside the sheriff's department. I've seen the things that need to be changed. And like I said from the beginning, it starts with accountability. And when you hold the people that are working for you accountable for their actions, and when they violate any of these policies or procedures or laws, then they're dealt with right then. It's not something that is carried on and carried on and carried on. I'm a leader. I've always, like I said, led by example. And I am the one that knows from the inside the things that need to be changed. I know where I need to have people act. So I can do what needs to be done from the inside, or from the sheriff's department, because I was in there and I know the things that need to be changed. And the accountability, the accessibility, and the communication between everybody is what's going to change that public's perception and bring the trust of the community together.
Mr. Calico, when you promote any programs geared toward crime prevention, for example, for kids, and if so, which ones?
Well, as you heard me say earlier, Red Ribbon Week is a big thing that I want to instill in the department, and to partner with the schools to address a lot of the issues. Red Ribbon Week doesn't just address the drug issues, it addresses bullying, it allows the students to set their own goals so they are achievable, and it gives them confidence when they are able to achieve a goal that they set. And it allows them, as they grow throughout their lives, that when they set goals, that they can achieve them. And it is also with, it's age appropriate. So you don't have one specific program that covers all children from kindergarten through 12th grade. The Red Ribbon Week is designed to address the age-appropriate topics to the children from kindergarten through the 12th grade. So I want to make sure that we partner with the schools to get this done and to also, like I said, begin to trust with children and officers at a young age so that will continue to grow throughout that child's life.
And Mr. Sims, same question. Would you promote any programs geared towards crime prevention for kids, and if so, which ones?
Excuse me, for kids, absolutely. Again, partnering with the schools, making sure that you have programs that are going to help them, actively participating not only during Red Ribbon Week, but, throughout the year. Making sure that you have those programs in place that are going to help them make positive choices throughout their life. But it's not just, children that we have to concentrate on, but all aspects of the community. Senior adults, and all the scams and all that are perpetuated against them. We need to make sure that we educate our senior population about those things and how to reduce the chances of them becoming a victim. Human trafficking. I teach human trafficking in the basic academy now for Advocates for Freedom, and that's something that's it's a large problem throughout the world, and it's starting to come here in our own community. It's been here, but it's just now really being publicized. So working with those community groups to help address some of those things, to help prevent someone who may get caught up in the human trafficking aspects of that. Domestic abuse, sexual assault. We should be having programs that are geared toward educating the public about all of those things, because every time you do that and you prevent one person from being a victim in any aspect, it makes your community a better place. So absolutely, programs for the kids, programs for the senior adults, every aspect of the community, that's what we need to concentrate on.
Now, for time constraints, this will be our last question. And then we will have closing remarks after that. Mr. Sims, do you favor the purchase of an armored vehicle for the sheriff's office?
Well, that's interesting. Well, there are, you can check with the military. They have surplus equipment. You hope you never need something like that, but I would sure rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But that's going to have to be one of those things that we look at. If it's something that we can acquire through the military and at minimal cost, absolutely. If it's something we can gain through a grant, absolutely. I'm not going to write a check for however much though, and until I know where we sit budget-wise. But having equipment available for use that will keep the officers safe, that will help them respond to a situation where something like that is needed, absolutely. Again, one of those things that you have to evaluate. It's real easy to say yes or no, but you have to put some thought into that.
And Mr. Calico, same question. Do you favor the purchase of an armored vehicle for the sheriff's office?
I'm going to answer that question simply. No. I don't believe it because there is not enough need for an armored vehicle here in Forrest County. That if you get this through a grant or through the military or whatever aspect that you get this vehicle from, you still have to maintain it, and that's on your dime. So it's going to cost you, the taxpayers of Forrest County, to keep this armored vehicle running. If you need it, as Charlie said, then if it's not kept up and the maintenance kept up on it, then it's not going to do you any good if it doesn't work. And to keep it running, it costs a lot of money to keep this armored vehicle up. And just as I said earlier, that I want to partner with the surrounding agencies, and there are 2 agencies that are joined Forest County that have these vehicles. So if there is an event that we do need an armored vehicle, then the cooperation with these other agencies will allow us to get access to it for its need.
Now, each of you will have 5 minutes for your closing statements. I'll draw a name out of here, and who's our name I draw first, will go first, and then I will prompt the following one as well. All right, Mr. Calico, you have 5 minutes for your closing remarks.
Well, first I want to thank the JCs for allowing us an opportunity to talk and to fill you in on what our plans and what my vision is to move Forest County forward. I believe that you have heard a lot of information and that you have heard the things that I am ready to do and start with on day 1. I have a plan. I am ready to implement that. It's nothing that I have to come in to evaluate. I know from working within the Sheriff's Department for as long as I did, the things that do need to be changed. And like I said earlier, accountability, communication, manpower, and training. Those are the 4 bases of my plan. And as I've laid it out, you can see exactly how each one of those will take place. And I am ready to do that on day 1. And I'm going to ask you this. I've been told while I've been out campaigning that people feel like I would make the best sheriff, but that other candidates are more popular. And this is what I'll tell you, is that just like I tell them, I appreciate their honesty, but it disappoints me that someone themselves feels like another person would do a better job and in that position, but that they would support or vote for somebody because they're more popular. I would rather have the best leader and the best person to lead the department than I would have somebody that is just popular. And so I ask you, when you go to the polls on August the 6th to cast your vote, that you actually vote for the person that you think would be best suited to be the next sheriff of Forest County. And through my experience and knowledge, I am the best candidate to be the next sheriff of Forest County.
And now, Mr. Sims, 5 minutes for your closing remarks.
Excuse me. I agree with you, Nick. It's not a popularity contest. It's about experience. That's the number 1 issue in this campaign. The experience of an individual who has successfully run a large law enforcement agency, who knows what to do day 1. I will disagree as far as the evaluation goes and knowing what the problems are, because you're looking at it from a perspective that you've had for several years. I'm the one that has the outside perspective. I'm the one that has to that would come in and look at every aspect of the agency and determine what is being done effectively and efficiently and what's not, what needs to change, what doesn't. So for me, that's important. And you know, it's not going to take years for me to evaluate that agency and make those determinations. I've evaluated operations in the Hattiesburg Police Department, in Police Corps, and in Force General. So I know how to do that. I know how to look at those things and make a determination on what has to be done. But that's important because it's been done the same way for several years, and it needs someone with fresh eyes who can come in and look at that and make the decisions, the hard decisions, to make those changes. I'm not going to be influenced by friendships that I've developed inside that department. I'm not going to be influenced by favors or jobs or positions that I've promised to somebody else. I'm not going to be influenced by a culture that has been in power a long time and doesn't want to relinquish that power. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do what is best for Forrest County. I'm going to give the people of Forrest County what they deserve, and that's an effective, efficient, professional department. One that is responsive to the needs of the public and that's geared or committed to serving the public. I'm going to give them a sheriff's department that they can be proud of. One where this county is free from crime and drugs. One where you're raising your family in a safe environment. One you're proud to call home. And I'm committed to giving that to the people of Forrest County. It's not going to be status quo. It's not going to be the same old thing. It's going to be a sheriff's department that is geared toward serving the people of Forrest County and giving them a safe place to live and raise their family.
I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's come out. Thank you, Mr. Stalman, Mr. Calico, your supporters, those who have come to cover media, and thank you to Jonathan for traveling to be our moderator. We invite you to stay afterwards and answer any questions that anyone has for you. Thank you.
Thank you.